wow. Something's up for us. A very, very good morning for Democrats.
A very, very good morning for Democrats. They haven't had a good morning like this probably since Barack Obama got reelected in 2012. This has been a long time coming for the Democratic Party. And they actually, you could sort of see the clouds of doom coming in again. A couple days ago, remember, we went around the panel Monday morning, asked everybody who they thought was going to win.
Sure.
Ed Gillespie, Ed Gillespie, Ed Gillespie. Everybody was saying it. By yesterday afternoon, you started hearing sort of order restored. A lot of conservatives were saying, wait a second, you know, Northam may end up winning this. Same thing with Democrats. But it was big. I mean, this was big. You look at these races, they call these off-year races, but in Virginia, they always matter. 1993, George Allen's landslide victory replacing Doug Wilder. That led to Republicans in 1994, sort of foreshadowed them winning a huge landslide. 2009, Bob McDonnell's win, another landslide win for a Republican a year after Barack Obama elected president, suggested that the Tea Party revolution was coming in 2010. But I think you have to go back to, and I wrote the date down here, January 19th, 2010, when Scott Brown won that special seat for Ted Kennedy. After Bob McDonnell was elected, to find one off-year election night that so shifted the landscape of American politics and the expectations of American politics and suggested to the party in power that they were in trouble. And Mika, we can all look at Ed Gillespie's loss. We can look at what happened in Maine. We could look all across the country. But if you want a microcosm of what we've been talking about for years about the Democratic Party's problems with losing 1,000 legislative seats nationwide and saying their problem's not just with Hillary Clinton, their problem was much larger. Well, last night, Donald Trump can try to blame Ed Gillespie, a guy that he and Steve Bannon got behind big time.
Right.
You can blame Ed Gillespie all you want. Guess what? The real story here is what happened in the Virginia House of Delegates. It was a massive landslide all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. Nobody expected this. Even the smartest people in politics never saw this coming. This was a repudiation of Donald Trump that will be heard around Virginia, around the nation, and yes, around the world.
Yep.
The whole world is watching. And they all saw what happened in Virginia yesterday, and they may just believe that maybe some equilibrium is returning to American politics.
And I think there's some forces for gun control. There's some incredible diverse candidates who were elected last night, and incredible emotional stories as well, including the boyfriend of the reporter who was gunned down, who won. He was an underdog. We'll be getting to that later, that Virginia story. It was an incredible night on a number of levels, and really a repudiation of President Trump, according to a lot of people, including some Republicans.
And you had this dueling narrative, as Joe alluded to, where the Gillespie campaign was whispering to reporters that this vote was a repudiation of President Trump. President Trump, though, weighed in last night from Asia to slam Ed Gillespie after his loss. Trump tweeted, quote, Ed Gillespie worked hard, but did not embrace me or what I stand for. Don't forget, Republicans won 4 out of 5 House seats, and with the economy doing record numbers, we will continue to win even bigger than before. According to exit polls, 57% of Virginia voters said they disapprove of the way Trump is handling the job. 47% disapprove strongly. Of the 40% who approve, only 22% say they strongly approve. And listen to this. U.S. Congressman Scott Taylor, a Republican from Virginia Beach, told the New York Times he faulted President Trump's, quote, divisive rhetoric for propelling the party to defeat. He said, I do believe that this is a referendum on this administration. Democrats turned out tonight, but I'm pretty sure there were some Republicans who spoke loudly and clearly tonight as well. He added down the ballot, quote, I know folks that lost tonight who are going against candidates I'd never even heard of. Joe, you pointed to this. Democrats were shocked by what happened last night. One Democratic operative said this was not a wave, this was a tsunami. In fact, it has been since 1975 that Democrats had taken even more than 5 seats in the House in an election like this.
Unbelievable. And John Heilman, in a House of Delegates gerrymandered in such a way to not represent the state, and still, even going against all those odds, that you have to just say, and I don't usually, we always look at candidates. We get paid to look at candidates and look at their campaigns. Let's face it. I mean, Ralph Northam won. Congratulations to him. He's got to be feeling great. He should be feeling great. But the morning after, let's talk about it. Everybody on both sides of the aisle said this guy ran one of the worst closing campaigns they had seen in recent memory. And yet, Virginia voters stood in the rain. They stood in long lines. I had somebody tweet at me yesterday, there was a long line. And I do believe that next year may be the year of, quote, women voters and women candidates, because I heard stories of women standing in the rain in Northern Virginia in long lines, and they weren't going to move until they got their vote against Donald Trump. Just like last year, I still say that election wasn't about Donald Trump as much as it was Hillary Clinton. Last night wasn't as much about Ralph Northam as it was voters, Republicans, moderates, Democrats, and women sending a message to Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I agree with everything you just said, Joe. Northam ran a not particularly great race, and yet he didn't win by a little bit. I yesterday was on TV saying that I was hearing from people in the Commonwealth saying, well, Gillespie's momentum's overstated. Northam's probably going to win a little bit tighter than Hillary Clinton carried Virginia a year ago, and yet he won by 9 points, having run a not great race. He won by 9 points. That's outside. There was no one, Republican, Democrat, Independent, no one was suggesting that kind of victory for him. And you look at where he won the race. Ed Gillespie managed to turn in basically Trump-like numbers in the southwest of the state, which is what he wanted to do. And his second goal was to try to limit the damage in Northern Virginia, in those suburbs that are filled with those women voters and those people who are alienated by Donald Trump that you're referring to. And not only did Gillespie not limit Northam's advantage there, he got slaughtered there. He got slaughtered there by worse than Donald Trump got slaughtered there. He performed way worse than... Way worse.
John, this is a thing, and this is a warning for Republicans in 2017 and 2018. Because I know you know the numbers here. Touch on this if you will. Ed Gillespie, who got slaughtered, swamped in Northern Virginia. This is a guy, when he wasn't pretending to be Donald Trump, shocked everybody in his Senate campaign and outperformed what everybody thought he would do across the state of Virginia and even in Northern Virginia.
3 years ago, Ed Gillespie won Loudoun County, which is an exurban county in Northern Virginia. He won that county 3 years ago, and he got beat there by double digits last night by Ralph Northam.
Wow.
This is going to send a message. We talk about how these midterm elections move in waves. There's a very set of practical consequences that are going to happen right now coming out of this, and I think are really important. One of them is on the basis of have you seen Republican candidates or Republican incumbents deciding to retire in the House? We've seen some of that already. On the basis of Republicans I've talked to on Capitol Hill over the course of the last couple of months, there's probably 24 Republican incumbents who've been contemplating retiring and waiting to see what was going to happen in these off-year elections and kind of read the wind and weather more generally. I think most of those people now will retire. They will look at the situation and say, this augurs horribly for us. So we're going to see a bunch of Republicans in marginal seats and some even safe seats who are going to just say it's not worth it. We're not getting anything done in Washington and we got to get out. And secondly, Democrats are going to be able to recruit candidates like crazy on the back of this. And there's going to be such a boost for Tom Perez, his strategy, the way that it worked across the state of Virginia. You are going to see now candidate quality, candidate recruitment on the Democratic side is going to go way up, and we're going to see that in the next few months. And that's going to make a huge difference just in beyond the national mood, the national electorate. And there's just going to be like these practical consequences that are going to matter a lot to who controls Congress in 2018.
I mean, the Democrats have been on a 5-year losing streak. They have lost so many races they should have won. Casey Hunt. And now, John's right. You've got people like Frank LoBiondo, who came in with me in 1994, announcing yesterday he's leaving Congress next year. Put that in the blue column. That's going to be a Democratic pickup unless something really dramatic happens in that seat. And talk to the impact that this race is going to have on the Hill. Because I know when I was a member and things like this would happen, it didn't take a long time. You would just walk down in the well and everybody would look at each other and go, holy cow, we shall say. They would go, holy cow, can you believe what just happened? And there's not like a 6-month adjustment or a 9-month adjustment. It's like, okay, I got to put my head down, and okay, I'm not going to say all the crazy things that Trump wants me to say. I mean, talk about how this changes so much on Capitol Hill.
I got to tell you, Joe, I'm really excited to go to work today and start talking to these members. I was getting text messages overnight from people. Virginia, obviously, we all know that, but there are suburban members across in the country in other places. One member texting me about, down ballot races that we would never pay attention to, clerk of the courts, small things, saying Republicans in the Philadelphia suburbs losing by 8 to 10 points in races that they would normally be winning with 57% of the vote. This is not, I don't think, going to be something that is confined to Virginia. And I think that you are absolutely right in that it's going to drive retirements potentially. It's going to make it harder for Republican leaders to keep all of their Republicans on board to try to pass things. Remember that the strategy right now on this big ticket tax reform is still to do it only with Republican votes. That is suddenly going to get to be a much harder argument to make because people are going to see what happened here. They're going to worry about their own races. This is going to even, I think, on the Senate side, this has got to give Claire McCaskill a little bit of reassurance that, hey, if I stick in the middle and I run a race that I can run, I can potentially run against this president. It's a little bit of a different environment, but I think that the sweeping nature of this, I think, is going to make it feel is going to make a fundamental difference in the dynamics on Capitol Hill.
And some of the issues that won last night, Willie, healthcare, guns.
That's right. Those are the two biggest issues in exit polls.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.